everyone, welcome back to EONC YouTube channel. This is a channel where I share everything about Malaysia real estate news, trend, and even new property launches. And of late, I also included a new playlist which is cafes review, especially in Penang. So today in this episode, I'm going to share about, do you get a defect liability period from developer when you buy a newly completed housing directly from developers? As I would assume that most of us know that when we buy under construction project directly from developers, we are being given this 24 months of defect liability period, where upon VP, when we get the keys to our unit, within these 24 months, if there is any leakages or if there is any defects with the unit that we bought from the developers, we are entitled to file a claim with the developers, and within 30 days, they are supposed to rectify the defects for us. But what about if we were to buy a newly completed housing project directly from developers? Do we still entitled to the 24 months defect liability period upon CCC being issued? So if you are also wondering whether is there a DLP period being given to you if you were to buy a newly completed housing project directly from developer, do watch on this video until the end and you'll find out the answers. Of course, there are a few reasons why some consumers prefer to buy a property when it's being completed instead of buying it while it's still under construction. One of the obvious one is they do not want to assume the risk of having an abandoned housing project, and some consumers just prefer to buy a product when it's being completed, when they can get to see the end product. Then only they will decide whether is that the housing that they are interested to buy. And of course, at the same time, they will also continue to enjoy the free legal documentation if they were to buy a newly completed housing project directly from developer instead of buying from the second owner in the sub-sale market. But to my dismay, I find out that many didn't realize that when they buy a newly completed housing project, be it directly from developer, in fact, they are no longer entitled to the defect liability period as compared to when you buy it while it's still under construction. Why, you may ask? Because once a CCC or Certificate of Completion and Compliance is being issued for that project, the sales of the property would actually fall under a sub-sale transaction. And sub-sale transaction is no longer under the purview of Housing of Ministry. So as such, the DLP or the defect liability period is no longer mandatory for the developer to extend it to the buyer. Over here, I do have a case where these customers actually bought a newly completed condo directly from a developer, believing that he will still be entitled for the defect liability period. Upon the sales and purchase agreement process being completed, when he got the key into his unit, when he moved into the unit, he realized that there was a leakage in the ceiling, and when he wanted to file the defects with the developer, he was being told that he need to rectify it at his own cost. So it was indeed a very shocking news to him, because he thought that by buying directly from developer, he would automatically entitled to the defect liability period. Upon a housing development is being completed and issued with CCC, it's no longer mandatory for the developer to extend the DLP period to the buyer. In fact, the buyer will be buying this property on a basis where they call it as is where basis. There is no more DLP in the sub-sale contract, but sometimes some developer may still extend probably 1 to 2 months of defect liability period to the buyer on a goodwill basis. So in a nutshell, many buyers out there believe that as long as they are buying the property directly from a developer, they will be entitled with the DLP period, and they will have the right to ask the developer to rectify any defects in the property that they bought. In fact, I do really pity those buyers who are caught unaware, and they really thought that by buying a newly completed housing directly from developers, they were automatically entitled to the defect liability period. And when they realized that this is not the case, that's when they have to fork out their own money from their own pocket to rectify any defects that they have from the new housing that they bought from the developer. Believe it or not, in fact, there are many who have fallen victims to such situations. So this is the reason why I decided to make a video on this topic, in the hope that I could help to spread more awareness to as many people as possible, hoping that through my channel I can help many people, many unaware consumers, and also help them to prevent them from falling into the same predicament as some of these consumer who has already experienced them firsthand. So perhaps our Minister of Housing would like to look into this issue. Maybe they can come out with a new set of contract where it would include a provision to extend the defect liabilities period to those properties post CCC, to buyers who buy the newly completed housing directly from the developers in near future. So after watching this video, I do hope that I have helped to spread awareness in all of you to know that next time when you buy a newly completed housing directly from a developer, you are no longer entitled to the defect liability period. So do help me to share this with your loved one and also your friends and family members if you think that they too should have a right to know about this. As usual, I always believe that we should be aggressive in learning and be safe in investing. So this is the end of my sharing. I do hope that if you find that my sharing is good, do give a thumbs up to my video, as it helps a lot in growing my channel. And if you have yet to subscribe to my channel, remember to subscribe to my channel and turn on the notification bell. I upload my new video on a weekly basis. So as usual, thank you for watching until the end, and bye, and God bless you.